Hey, it's Willie Armelini from Flowers and Scents with your floral industry buzz. Okay, today I'm going to interview Marco Groot from Hilverda De Boer. And Marco is the CEO, and he's one of Flowers and Scents' longest sponsors. And I've been looking forward to interviewing him for several years now. So finally, we pulled this off. So without further ado, we'll learn about Hilverda De Boer. Okay, Marco Groot from Hilverda De Boer, USA. You're the CEO of Hilverda De Boer, USA. I guess that's what it says.
That is correct. That is correct. And you say
Okay.
it without an accent.
Well, I try. I go to Amsterdam enough that I probably should know enough Dutch to get by. But my new favorite word is mooie.
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 Yeah. That's a
Pretty.
mooie bloem.
Yeah, it's a pretty, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Marco, you and I have been trying to do this for several years, have this conversation, and a number of setbacks prevented us from doing so. But finally, here we are after several years. So first of all, thanks you for being a good, longtime sponsor of Flowers and Scents. We appreciate it. And so you were probably the only one on my network that pretty much sells Dutch flowers exclusively. I think you have other products, but you're mainly a Dutch supplier. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's first of all, thank you for having me. Let's start with that. And I'm so glad that we finally can make this happen. And what you do with your show, with Flowers and Scents, but also with your mailing, the constant updates on things happening in the industry. Kudos to you. It's very important. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So yeah, we are originally started as a Dutch company in 1983. We in 1983 we started in the United States with a presence right here, but we evolved over the years. So we still are predominantly Dutch. About 75% of what we do is still Dutch, and 25% is everything else. We have a full web shop, really a one-stop shop experience, and our clients can choose from programs we have in Japan, Italy, New Zealand grown, Californian. We have, just to give you a number, we have 18,000 different lines of South American flowers that we offer every day. 18,000.
I don't think there isn't that many. Come on.
Well, there is a little caveat to that. What it is there's probably 6,000 different things, right? But then we have three different packings, like 50 stems, 100, 150. But just to give you an example, like Dutch is predominantly what we do still, but we are basically, around the globe these days.
Now, so people don't get confused, because I admit I have been. So if you go to Holland, you see Hilverda the florist,
Yes.
right? And so is that Hilverda is a long name that I've known in the flower industry for a long time. So is that a different company?
It used to be the same company. It's now a different company. So what happened is the Hilverda family, they used to be rose growers. And rose growers, and then later lilac, viburnum. And one of the things in your book, actually, you have a picture of it. It's I may say this wrong, really, but I think it was it was in 1923. We were the first to export lilac from the Hilverda family on a cruise ship to New York to go to the on the pantry to go to the hotels. And later on, Hilverda had farms, they had a breeding facility, and they had Hilverda Export, which merged with Hilverda De Boer. So it was from one original company, and it broke down in several companies.
Okay. Now, look, the Dutch obviously are well known for their flowers, as well they should be. They've been doing it a long time. And for instance, hydrangea comes to mind, because no matter where I go, I see hydrangeas, and inevitably I see Medellin hydrangeas, which where the most of them come from. Yet you see the Dutch ones. People say, I go to these, now I've been going to more retail events, and people say, yes, the Medellin ones are beautiful, but look at these Dutch ones. right? They're bigger and more colors, and so there obviously is a demand for Dutch flowers, even though South America tries desperately to, to replicate all the, all the varieties and quantities and colors that Holland has. So there's a difference apparently.
There is, and the main reason for that is seasonality. So there are certain things that we can grow in Europe, okay, but that are great in South America, and there are things that you can grow in South America that are okay, but they're great in Europe. So for instance, roses, that's the best example. The Dutch roses used to dominate the world.
Yep.
But quite frankly, the Ecuadorian, and again now the Colombian, which are doing a better job every year as well, are better. And it has to do with the altitude. It has to do with the non-seasonality, cold nights, warm days. So with all of that, hydrangeas, they need seasons in order to grow from a fresh color to an antique color.
Okay.
And since we don't have seasons in South America, except, for example, in Chile and New Zealand.
Sure.
So Chile is a fantastic country to grow flowers because they do have the seasonality,
Sure.
and it's contra the European.
Yep.
So what you've been seeing over the years, that whenever there's peonies in Europe, there's no peonies in Chile. When
Yep.
the peonies in Europe are over, we got them from Chile and New Zealand. So hydrangeas from Chile are actually getting nicer and nicer and nicer every year because they have the same
Cycle.
growing habits as in Europe. Now, when you say Dutch flowers, I have to say it's a little different than when we started in the business, right? It used to be everything was Dutch.
Yep.
All of the greenhouses were in Holland. But since the European Union is like one union, they kind of figured out, okay, listen, food is going to be grown in this part of Europe. Cattle is going to be in that part of Europe. Flowers, and it makes sense if you think about it. Flowers, Spain, France, Portugal, Italy, because of the natural sunlight. So a lot of the Dutch flowers are actually grown over there. And it works with the quality because it's actually nicer. So they grow quality flowers with the Dutch knowledge in those parts of Europe. They truck it overnight to the auction, and that's when we pack and ship it out. So technically, it's not Dutch anymore. It's more of a European flower.
Well, I believe we could also say that because, the Dutch are very proud of saying they export more flowers than any country in the world. But I do believe part of that export is imports coming from South America going into the auction and resold and transported out. So it's that equals that big number. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. And don't forget, it's South America, it's Africa. That is also there's
Bigger.
more flowers from
Bigger.
Africa in Europe than South America. So
Sure.
if you add those two numbers up, you get to this humongous number, but it's not completely the way it is.
Well, I'll still give the Dutch credit because they're still buying it and selling it and trading it and doing all the logistics. So they get the credit. Which also reminds me every time I go to Ellesmere, the gigantic flower auction, there seems to be less and less auctioning going on and more logistics, I guess. That's what I've been seeing over the years, huh?
Yeah, for sure. It used to be that we had auction rooms, and the auction room is like an arena, right? You had an arena for the roses. All the buyers from the roses were sitting there. You had an arena for, the hydrangeas, different types of flowers. And that romance is completely gone. But it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's all remote now, right?
It's all remote. There is still some going on, but it's all remote. But it's also because of the gigantic quantities that come from Africa, from South America, the Middle East. All of those quantities, it's too big to auction off. So what they do now is it's stored in locations outside of the auction. It's being auctioned, and then it's being distributed to whoever buys it. I remember the days where you were sitting on that
The clock.
Yeah, on the clock, on the arena, and people were drinking beer. And you were thinking like, Jesus, it's like 7:15. What are you doing?
In the morning.
That was the
Well,
culture.
well, not only that, but it was filled with men smoking cigarettes, mostly men, maybe two or three women out of 200 men. And yeah, I don't know if I ever saw them drinking beer there, but I'm not surprised because the Dutch like their beer.
Yeah. We have so many great stories about that time, and I miss it. I really miss it. And there were everybody had their own spot, so you knew exactly. Like Pete was sitting there, and Jan was sitting there, and there was some familiar. You knew what was going on every day, and I miss those days dearly. And I'm glad that I'm 52, that I still live those days. But it is much better. We have a very serious industry because think about it. It's we are $1 billion company as a group, as the FM group. That's just one company. There's more companies like us, but the point is, it's a serious industry.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we evolved, but I'm also glad that I still had like the tail end of the romance.
No, and it was. I sat in those rooms a number of times watching the action, and it was extraordinary actually to see the clock going like this, and the guy talking, and boxes flying in and out, and carts coming through, and all the Dutch men sitting there, very smug, smoking their cigarettes and pushing buttons. Boop,
But my favorite story is this. I got two, if you don't mind.
go
I'll tell
ahead.
it very quickly. So one of my first jobs in the office where I worked then was to make sure that when we were doing all the sales by phone, right, to
Sure.
Switzerland, to all of it was by phone and fax. So the auction back then started at 6:30, not at 6 o'clock, 6:30. So when the phone rang at 7 and you were selling things, you had to call the buyer to say, "Hey, listen, add," and then you would read it off, right? This was the beginning of the cell phones, and the cell phones would kind of disturb the phone that the buyer had the connection with the clock and with the clock salesperson. So we had a guy every time there was a cell phone on the arena, on the buying arena, he would be saying, "Oh, put that phone off, you," and then all kinds of swearing going on and this and that. So I would call him and I would say, Andre, I can't hear you. And of course I could hear him. I can't hear you. Somebody's with a cell phone. And then he would stand up and he would curse, and there was no cell phone every day.
All right. What's the other story?
The other story is the first time that I could actually buy flowers on the flower auction. My first real job was I drove a truck in Amsterdam, and we would sell to flower stores. So open the doors, and whatever we have left, they could pick out, right? As a flying Dutchman, as we
Flying
call it.
Dutchman. Sure.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It was a great learning school. But the first day that I could actually buy flowers, I was so proud. But I was also so nervous. There's three clocks, and you had three buttons. If you push this button, you're buying on that clock. This button, that clock, this button, that
Ah,
clock.
right.
I had this button on, but I was buying on that clock, I thought. So I came to the truck and I see trolleys of stuff that apparently I bought. It was just I felt my heart sinking, and there are solutions for that. Like you could re-auction it the next day, and like this wasn't the first time this was happening, but yeah, that was my famous first day.
I sold flowers for a little while at Superior Florals in Miami, and one of my first adventures were the guy ordered 30 bunches, and I sent him 30 boxes. And he calls me
Classic.
up and he says, "What in the hell? What is going on? I got 30 boxes of these, whatever it was at the time, I don't remember." And I said, "Isn't that what you wanted?" He said, "I wanted 30 bunches."
Yeah,
So
that's a
that was a
big
little
credit.
harder to fix because he already had the boxes in his cooler. So I had to finagle a few things there. But hey, that's the life of when you work with numbers and people, and it's going fast, mistakes are easy to happen. Hey, so Marco, moving forward, what do you see going on here? Again, I've been going to these retail events and watching the unbelievable creativity and just innovation that these people come up with. And again, it's a beautiful thing because this is from all the breeding and all the growing and all the selections and all the logistics and sales and blah 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 finally come together at that meeting, where these people take the flowers and man, they're just, working them in 100 different thousands of ways. It's impressive to see. And I believe there is really a hope for retail florists because they provide the creativity and the quality of flowers and the product that the consumer wants and we want as an industry for people to be happy about that. But it's a challenge because supermarkets, you can buy, and I think I've come to the conclusion they're not really competitors. They are, but I think they're not, because the supermarket is providing a convenient way to grab a bunch of flowers, and it's wonderful. Their flowers are pretty, they're beautiful, they're well taken care of, they're affordable, and that gets flowers in people's homes. But the florist provides an experience, and as the florists tell me, look, it's not about the flowers, it's about that card that says "I love you" or "Thank you" or whatever it says, "Happy birthday." That card is the flowers are just icing on the cake. You find that?
I do. I'm very optimistic about our industry. I really am, and especially about the retail part of it. And let me explain to you why. Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I fully agree with your assessment. The supermarkets are not a competitor. As a matter of fact, they help us grow. If you look at early '90s in Great Britain, I believe Tesco started to big supermarket chain started to
Sure.
sell flowers, and the whole country everybody in the floral industry was like, "Oh, that's the beginning of the end." It was actually the opposite because the more you put flowers in the front end to people, the more they're going to adapt to it, right?
Yep.
So first of all, I think that's great. Second of all, I do think, and this is not my wisdom. Actually, a good friend of mine told me this, and I tend to agree with him. Supermarkets these days, it's growing, double digits year over year, right? That's going to end at some point because listen, the younger generation are going to buy the groceries on the phone.
Yep.
So I do think that retail has a long, long life in them, and even more so, they are the true artists. If and social media rescued our business because people are. It's so easy now to get out and show what special things you do with the flowers, and I'm not a creative person at all, at all. But I'm in awe what our clients make. It is unbelievable, and that's the experience that you're selling. So I'm very optimistic about our business. I really am.
And that's good to hear because I am as well. And a lot of people I talk to are very optimistic about what's going on. That flowers, I think COVID maybe woke people up to fact that flowers are something that's essential. It's good for you. It makes you happy. Use them. They're wonderful. I'm growing orchids and some roses in my backyard here, and every time I walk out and I see a beautiful flower, cut it, bring it in the house here, put that in the
Yeah,
vase.
yeah. It's the
It's
only thing that I would say is a big challenge for us as an industry, and this is nothing new, and it goes for a lot of industries, but I think especially for us is finding good young people to enter our industry. It's there is not really schooling for this, and there is a reason why Miami in the U.S. is first of all it's the floral central of the
the
Americas
U.S. Yeah.
of the U.S. It's the Aalsmeer of the U.S., so to speak.
Yep.
So in Miami, you can still find people that have kind of a basic knowledge, and they come into an entry level that you can do something with them. I'm sorry, there was a lot of noise, but it's hard to find good young people. It really is,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful industry to work in. I tell my people, look at that globe. Like I
Flowers come
talk
from
to
everywhere.
I talk to Africa, New Zealand, South America, Holland,
Every
Israel on a
day.
daily basis.
No, it's a global business. Well, I agree with you, and I am encouraged when going to AFID that I just went to to see the young people there, excited and exuberant about the flowers and crazy about it. So I'm really encouraged from that standpoint. I see it a lot in the wholesale business more than retail, I think. Wholesaling is a bit less, you know, dramatic or creative, if you will. It's, you're moving boxes. You're not doing
Yes.
design, so you're moving boxes. So there, I've always talked to a lot of wholesalers who say, my biggest challenge is finding young people or people to take over the business. And that's why we've seen a lot of consolidation because those people don't exist or they don't show up. But again, on the retail side, I at least feel that that energy's there. People are excited about it. They want that AFID banner, that insignia on their name. So I am encouraged about it from that standpoint, and I think more of that, even like the Gen Z and Gen X and all these that are doing with the WUFSA and SAF doing, these young people's committee. And I do feel that it's there's a positive movement for it. How long it will last, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think it, I think it will outlast us, Willie. I really think so. I really feel it. It's our challenge is so retail. I agree. Like there, anybody that is really creative can start that, and they will succeed. I know it. They will succeed. With some help maybe on the number side, but they will succeed. Wholesale, working in wholesale, that's a tough job. It's very physical. It's early hours. If you look at my company, my people, yeah, they work from home. They work, office hours, so to speak, which is nicer. But their knowledge, it takes like 2 or 3 years before you get to their level, at least, because what they know about logistics, seasonality, a customer comes with a long list of like, this is what I need in 3 months from now. Can you tell me where it comes from, what the price is, etc., etc.? And they know it because most of them are in this industry for 15, 20, 30 years already. And
Sure.
they're great. But it's hard to find people like that. And that's my challenge.
I'm encouraged because my friend Saheed from New Bloom Solutions, who he just created like a
Yeah.
test, right? A floral test. So you take that test, and if you take that test, which basically pops up a lot of different flowers, do you know the name of this flower? Do you know the name of that flower? And if you pass his test, at least then you have something that says, yeah, at least I know enough to pass that test, right? And that's a good entry because there is no other way to do that to get there, to get that information. How do you get it otherwise? Now, again, I'm encouraged that these AFID and WUFSA and SAF all have sort of a backbone on that sort of stuff to try to get you to learn more about the industry. And, as we write books and everything else to try to help people understand where we came from and where we're going. So, hey, I am encouraged, and I want to thank you for your time here because you were on Flowers and Scents finally, and we got a chance to talk, and it was a wonderful conversation. So, my friend, I will see you around somewhere, I hope.
I can't wait. And again, thank you for all you do. You bring a lot of positivity to this industry. I love that.
Well, that's music to my ears, and I thank you, sir. You have a great day, and tot ziens.
Tot ziens.